Episode 239 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded May 29th, 2019. Life and Death. Yeah, so we're talking about
cheerful stuff.
Cheerful stuff. Actually, this is, I think it's almost all lighthearted stuff.
It actually is. It actually is. The stakes are just high.
Yeah. But so we're going to be talking about Dead to Me over on Netflix, talking about iZombie's final season over on CW, talking about Lucifer's comeback on Netflix, and talking about Blood and Treasure, the new one on CBS.
Yes.
And we are the TV Dudes. I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And let's just dive right into it, guys. Let's start with Dead to Me over on Netflix.
I first heard about this show on NPR.
Okay.
I was driving somewhere, and this happened to be the weird, like, NPR's one TV review of the day or movie or whatever on a Friday.
It's David Bianculli.
Yeah. And
the show, Dead to Me.
Yeah. Exactly. And he talked about it having, like, these... He called it a good place level twist. I wouldn't say that.
I actually hated the twist.
But he talked about the two leads just vanishing into it and that this really is a powerhouse in terms of watching them do their thing.
And the leads are Christina Applegate and
Linda Cardellini.
And I think that's the reason to watch. They're on their A game on this this show.
Who is the pretty guy from Westworld?
James. Oh,
yes.
James something.
Cyclops.
Yeah, James Marsden.
Yeah, he also does a fun job with this.
His
character really wants to approach a Tim Oliphant, Santa Clarita Diet level.
Yeah, well, he comes off at first like kind of a bro and kind of a doofy dude, and then you start to see a little danger as it goes on.
Yeah, he's a little goofier and a little
I think that the thing for me, the place I heard of it was in a constant rotation on my Facebook as if it was my best friend. Like I saw the trailer for this about 100 times. I'm still seeing it.
Crazy.
I want to tell Facebook I have seen it. You can stop showing me this ad.
It's funny. They got to a point in the show where I was like, wait, I already knew that happened. How is that? And it's because it was totally in the trailer.
I feel like Netflix put some money into the backing of this. Like they definitely think this is going to be one of their big shows for the year.
And it seems to be going over really well.
It does. I think it's their Orange is the New Black. It's their It's basically the premise is that Christina Applegate's character, her husband has died in a car or a hit and run. And she meets this sort of crazy woman, Linda Cardellini, in a grief therapy group, and they sort of bond, and sort of her grief and Christina Applegate's grief sort of brings them together, and they become stronger by being besties. And that is what is presented to us in the trailers.
That lasts about an episode.
Yeah, and the twist, and I'm going to go ahead and reveal the twist. So spoilers.
It's in the first
episode. Is that, and honestly, you can kind of see it coming.
So it wasn't a big twist to my wife. Like Lisa was like, is that she actually what Lisa asked is it all about her?
Yeah, she is the one who killed her husband. She did the hit and run and killed her husband.
Well, first, I mean, they try to dole it out. First, you find out that Cardellini is lying about her husband being dead at all.
Yeah.
Because she's at the grief counseling group for her own reason. You find out that reason's a lie.
And it turns out, they were never even married. It was that she broke up with her boyfriend.
But there is some tragic backstory to it. And so they justify her character being in the grief thing and some other people. But then you puzzle out.
Then they do the big thing that, she is the one who killed her. And she's trying to get closer to her. And I'm like, man, you've kind of undercut, like, at some point this secret has to come out.
I know where this explodes.
And I don't know how you believably get them to be in the same room anymore.
And then they start teasing you with a will they, won't they on it of the balloon thing.
And that was frustrating.
Well, yes. You guys, I feel like all these things are kind of where I was up to the balloon thing, all right? But then the next episode is when we got more information about Ted and what he was doing before. And I was like, oh, that's what you do. Because if you change how Christina Applegate's character feels about her dead husband, you can possibly change the dynamic here.
That's still really hard. That's a really hard turn.
But I got to say, I don't think that's the twist he was talking about in that sense, but that was the one turn where I was like, oh, wait a second. Like, maybe it kind of still kept me grounded in the story. Maybe not grounded in reality, but at least grounded in
I would also pause and encourage everybody to go check our interview out with Olivia Macklin, who plays Ted's Girlfriend.
Yeah, she's great by that small part.
Yeah,
she's really great.
She was great in LA to Vegas. Yeah, she's really great.
I liked this. Every episode I liked. I enjoyed it. I found it a very easy watch. But when I got to the end of it, and as I was watching it, I was frustrated with it because I was like, why did you do this? Why did you put this twist in? Why couldn't this have just been about two women going through grief and not have the hook that she is the one who killed her husband?
I wanted it to just be that she was lying about the grief thing, that she was a grief counseling or that she was Fight Club style, like she was just
and
interloping.
She was a little crazy for her own reasons.
She was a faker,
yeah.
But I didn't need it's this small a world.
Yeah, that was it's. Like I say, the problem is I don't see a conceivable way where the two of them are friends. And I will say, without spoiling, when they get to the end of the season, they do the best possible job they could of like, okay, here's why the two of them are in it together. But I still don't see it working because she killed her husband.
I desperately wanted it to actually be a deer.
Yeah.
Because there's a minute where her boyfriend, ex or whatever, is arguing of like, fuck you, stop saying we killed a man.
Yeah, we don't know.
You hit a deer.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have a minute of like, your girlfriend is a little crazy, and that was fine in your relationship until you hit that deer that night, and she's sure you hit a person, and she won't let it go, and she keeps trying to go to the cops about it. That would be a far more interesting thing to me, that like you didn't hurt anyone, but you won't stop turning yourself into the friggin' police about it. Like, that would be a cooler story to me.
And that's the thing that I think that they were trying to do is that it's about these two women. And slowly we see that basically the men in their lives, there's like that her boyfriend is the one who really was like, no, we're not doing the right thing. Let's get the fuck out of here. Like he was the one responsible for the cover up. She accidentally hit someone, and that's potentially forgivable if she owns up to it.
They should have stopped right then.
And instead they're supposed to put off the well, she was just doing what her controlling boyfriend was doing. And on Christina Applegate's side, we're supposed to be saying, oh, well, her husband was cheating on her. He was kind of shitty. He deserved this. And I'm like, you guys are asking for way too much buy-in on this. Like, yeah, both these guys are shitty, but the women are still problems. And I couldn't quite get past that central premise thing. That said, I keep going back to it. I really think it's well done. I'm just so frustrated at the premise.
You know, one of the things that's well done about this is all that stuff that you keep mentioning.
Yeah.
It makes for these really suspenseful moments. Mm-hmm. So even if like what got us here is a little flimsy, like we're still here. And Christina Applegate, oh my gosh, I should have started writing them down because there's all these moments where like they'll have an exchange and be like yada yada, and she'll go, "Oh, quit lying."
Yeah,
and it's like because like but you know that the other character is really building up this huge lie. And yeah, little moments like that are like every other beat in this show.
The raw nerve steel in Applegate. And can we talk? I don't know the actress's name. Her mother-in-law.
Oh yeah,
is the scariest woman I've ever seen on television. Like. She is frightening.
Yeah, and at the same time, they do a nice undercut of her at the end, where like, you know what? Yeah, this woman lost her son, and
yes, she is a narcissist that performs for every friggin' thing.
It's a little bit understandable that she's in this place where she kind of hates her. I mean, that makes sense. She never thought she was good enough for her son, and now, as far as she's concerned, that like she's left. That's all she's left with is this woman who she didn't want in her life in the first place. Mm-hmm. Did you guys think the kids were just kind of okay? Have I been spoiled by kid actors? I mean, we've seen really good kid actors, and I feel like the kids are okay here.
I didn't notice them one way or the other.
Yeah,
they were passable.
Yeah,
the boy swore.
Yeah,
I kept asking the younger kid. I'm like, is he related to that kid from Iron Man 3?
All right, so let's jump over to iZombie, which is hitting its final season.
Yes, I'm so glad that they got the time they want to wrap it up.
Me too.
That they know it's their last season and they are moving to. This show's mythology has always been the make or break of it for me.
Yeah.
It's so big that it is insanely complex, even as they do Monsters of the Week.
Yeah.
But because it's so big, it left me at a point where I was getting really worried that this isn't a procedural you could just end.
Right. No, they had done. I mean, they'd done their version of the zombie apocalypse.
Yes.
And I love their
Get
version
Out.
of
They
it.
have all. I mean, Seattle's been walled off for a while now.
Yeah, Seattle's is walled. Like they're doing this whole thing where it's like it is a story about a woman working with the police, but in that context, the police are trying to keep the peace between zombies and humans. And there's all this machinations going on about like there's a zombie army occupying the city. There's people outside the city that want to nuke it.
Yeah,
like it's.
And then now in this season we've got the creepy dead enders who are like human first activists basically, or human first terrorists, and the woman leading them used to be on. There was a short-lived show with Christian Slater called Breaking In.
Yeah,
ran 2 seasons, I think. She was the creepy Carol, I think was like basically her character. She was the creepy office worker.
She is great here as this sort of like the religious fanatic,
dead-eyed, vicious,
and so hateful. Like,
oh my god,
I just hate her so much.
I know, and she's so similar to the husband, Claire's husband on Fleabag.
Yeah,
like, this actress is just so good at being like, no, I hate you. I want to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Also, I like what they're doing with Fillmore Graves, where Major's
having
arc,
to run it.
Major's arc is so cool. Like Major has gone from being just the sort of studly boyfriend.
Well, he was the bro that didn't understand why his fiancée dyed her hair white.
Well, and then he became sort of a social worker. You know, he was like trying to help everyone, and he was like their Captain America. Like he always was doing the good thing.
The whole dog thing.
Yeah,
Major and Minor.
Yeah. Well, and him becoming a zombie, him becoming the leader of Fillmore Graves. Like he's gone to a position. Peyton, her roommate, has become the mayor.
Yes.
There's such a. I love how everyone that she knows and loves has become like the parts. I mean, and what's going on with Blaine?
Basically the CDC connection.
Yeah.
Like he's the only scientist inside here that's working on a cure. He's really found it.
And Blaine basically running Ricks for zombies.
Yes. And that the walling off of Seattle gives a plausible excuse why these characters have to stay in contact.
Yeah.
Nobody can leave the show.
Yeah. I really like
Don
it.
E.
Oh man, Donnie's great. By the way, Ravi is part zombie? He got a cure.
Yes.
So, but like once a month he craves the brains.
Yeah.
I did not realize how big that actor was until he was playing brutish British dude in the first episode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're a big guy.
Man, I follow him on Twitter, and he's just
great.
Absolutely great.
He is great.
And every once in a while, well, not every once in a while, it's a routine. Twitter's a fucking cesspool sometimes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And people lay into him with the dumbest racist shit.
Yeah.
And generally he handles it with an aplomb that I'm like, you're a fucking saint compared to, like, I don't know how he manages it.
He's funny and he's smart and he's definitely using his power for good.
Yeah. I really enjoy following him on social media. I really love iZombie.
So is there anything you need out of this show to get to a good ending? Like, do you need Major and Liv to be together?
I really don't. I am glad Ravi and Peyton are together.
Me too. I'm really happy about that.
I thought Major and Liv would be the connection that I need, and this show, almost better than anything I can think of on television, has actually sold me on them being friends at this point. I don't think they could rekindle a romantic relationship.
I agree.
I really don't want them to force it.
I'm surprised at how invested I am in Clive.
Yeah,
and his new bride, and then the
baby.
The other girl is also pregnant and might also be Clive's. Like, that's an interesting thing I've not seen outside of soap operas.
And I actually like Babineau. Yeah, he's great.
I really like that. I love the dance episode they did.
Yes,
where Clive they did the Footloose thing where they teach Ravi to dance. Mm-hmm. And you see Clive being every so often Clive gets to step out and be the fun guy.
Like the D&D group
like
that
the
they have
D&D
going
group.
now is just great, and Clive's totally into that. And they've kept that going. Like it's still in the background. He still plays.
There's a lot of deep continuity in this show, and I really appreciate that. Like they have built their story. They're paying everything off. And while there are still like Murder of the Weeks going on, I feel like we're already diving into the arc.
I got a little worried they were going to lose me last season with the whole Renegade thing.
Yeah.
I didn't care about that so much.
But I like Liv being Renegade.
There's so many moving parts to this show that even when one facet wasn't my favorite thing, I wanted to see what Blaine was up to with the scratching post.
Right.
Again, that's a great bar name.
It is a great bar name. I love that Liv is semi-famous now. Like everybody knows her as Renegade.
Yeah.
You got to the episode with Blaine and the profile that's being done on him. Right?
Yes.
Blaine handling his own problems with Capoeira Brain. Like there's so much. I've liked that guy since Alias.
Yes.
And I felt like he did a great job here.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy the show's back. I think they're nailing their final season.
Yeah.
We're about halfway through?
3 episodes in. 4 episodes in?
4 episodes in. Okay, so we're a third of the way through.
Hopefully. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I don't want it to
it's 13 episodes.
I don't want it
I'm kind of ready for 10. I kind of want to see them bring this in for a landing.
I don't want it to go endlessly because I think it could collapse under its own weight, but at the same time, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. This mostly makes me want to go back and rewatch all of it and watch the progression of how it all goes. Yes, because it really,
for a silly show, the arcs are tremendous.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about another sort of procedural with supernatural elements.
Also comic book adaptation.
Also a comic book adaptation.
Mm-hmm. So I never really read iZombie.
Also very different from. Yeah, yes. iZombie, the show is nothing like the comic.
Yeah. Lucifer, the show, as we have discussed here before,
is nothing like the comic.
It's really nothing like the comic.
I just want to do the little yeah. Whenever the show starts, they have this. So you
guys have to carry this one. I've seen like one episode.
They get me with that shortcut intro. So we've talked before, I think, about this show about how it's different from the comic, but it's similar enough to the comic that for me it fell into a trap of being. I mean, it is Mike Carey's premise, and then they didn't do it. Fox made a police procedural instead.
Fox made a Fox show.
Yeah, Fox to Fox show, and Fox out of it. And it wasn't bad. But it took me a minute. I had to let go of Mike Carey's Lucifer run.
Because this is not that at all.
This is not that. And just let Tom Ford, is that the dude's name? Tom Ellis. Tom Ellis.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think Tom Ford's doing this.
Clothing guys.
Well, and a film director.
Okay.
He did what is it, Nocturnal Animals.
Oh, okay.
I think the show lives and dies on his performance.
Yeah, no, Tom Ellis just owns this.
Yeah.
And the girl that plays Mazikeen is just great. Yeah. But it was enjoyable, but it was fun. It was fluff. I would forget about it for a while, and then I would binge 9 fucking hours of it. It's jumped to Netflix, and I know Kyle has not gotten to see the actual Netflix-produced season yet.
Yeah, when I knew we were talking about this, I had plenty of time to catch up. But honestly, I'm just really digging this show. And unfortunately, these are 30-episode seasons for these first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So we've been watching probably 10 a week.
It's a show I could probably rewatch because I have vacuumed and done housework and shit. So it's 20-something episodes a season.
This got canceled, right?
Yes.
And then Netflix picked it up?
Netflix picked it up from Fox.
That's weird.
So they shortened the season. They leaned a little heavier on the mythology, and a little less heavy. There's still kind of a monster of the week, but it ties to the larger mythology a lot tighter, I feel like.
So here's a big question. Could you come in on this season, or should you go back and watch the network stuff?
You could, in theory, come in on this season, and they catch you up on who's who.
Okay.
There is an arc for a couple of characters through this season that deals with the death of a character you will never see if you only watch this season.
Okay.
And so that would be difficult. Like they're missing someone's murder.
Oh, but you know what? I'm pretty sure I know which character you're talking about, because if you watch, they do one of those like epic recaps at the beginning of season 3 where it's like, hi, my name's Lucifer. Here's what's been going on Fox. And
hi, I'm Lucifer. Did you see Brooklyn Nine-Nine this week? That shit was crazy.
Yeah.
But no, they do spoil, I think, that character death. Because is Amenadiel in the Netflix one? Okay. Because it also looked like maybe he wouldn't be coming back.
No, he's back. Basically, everybody's back except one character. But there's definitely some stuff they're dealing with here that you won't have how those characters got together for this.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But that said, those aren't the A plots. Like,
so
I don't.
I have a question. Having only seen like a scattered episodes or first episode or whatever, who is this show for? Who is it aimed at? Is it for fans of Supernatural? Is it for fans of like if you like iZombie, would you like this?
This show is for women. This is a sexy show. It's
a sexy man.
I've complained about like magicians being too sexy because I feel like magicians this whole other thing. It doesn't have to be sexy. This show doesn't work without being super sexy.
Okay.
Like it's essentially
he's having so much fun being cheeky.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the time.
Okay.
Everything's a flirt and like everybody's just like about to start making
out. The Netflix
out.
season introduces Eve.
Okay.
Like the Eve.
Okay. Yeah.
As his ex.
That's pretty good.
And he's her first like cheating with him is the sin.
Okay.
Like she took a bite of his apple.
Uh-huh.
And that's what got them thrown. And yeah, so like Eve just shows up and is like, Adam's the boringest dude ever. And I want to be with you. And she's fucking crazy, but everyone loves her. Everyone loves her. Everyone that meets her like ought to hate her. And by the end of a conversation, they're like, "I'm with you, girl. Let's get drinks." It's great. It's great. And so the show doesn't work without. I mean, and granted, as soon as she shows up, like things go nuts, and he goes like they don't shy away from like the amount of drugs he does. He thinks he's leaving the cops at one point, that he's going to retire out, like stop helping with cases. And his thank you to everybody is just like, "And you, Officer So-and-so, for always letting me check the drugs before evidence lab." And like 3 other cops look back at this person. And they're like, "Shut the fuck up." Yeah, it's so I have a couple of female friends on my Facebook feed that will geek out about like Dresden Files or like there's a certain set of genre shows that just have a female following, and I feel like Lucifer's got to be at the top of that pile.
Okay, yeah, like when you asked who is this for, like I'm like, Shannon loves this. And I don't think it's the writing. I mean, it's a Fox show. So you had said, on in the background while you're vacuuming, doing this or that.
It's 22 episodes of demons stabbing people and sexy crimes being solved. And
yeah, they're going to catch the guy at the end of the episode. And then
German looks so puzzled and annoyed, but she loves you.
Yeah. And then who's the actress from Dexter? Who was Dexter's nanny, and she's on here as the forensic tech.
Oh man, she's nuts! Yes, she's great. They had this like super quirky forensic tech that is actually religious, but also just out there.
Okay,
so she kind of gets Lucifer, and then friggin' Lieutenant Dan or Officer Dan or whatever.
Oh yeah, Officer Douchebag.
Yeah, the woman the human that Lucifer has decided is his soulmate. Lauren German, her ex is also a cop.
Okay.
And so Lucifer keeps kind of running afoul of him because he just calls this guy a douche and Dan's not the greatest guy, but he does not deserve this shit.
They definitely turned him into like likable loser.
Yeah, they never ditch his character.
Second season.
They keep him and make him part of the. It's like watching Cordelia become part of the Scoobies.
For big fans of this, wondering about this new Netflix season.
I loved the Netflix jump.
Here's a question, though. Chloe's daughter, she's still part of this?
A little bit.
Has she aged out of her cuteness?
They don't use her as much, so I think she must have been. But they don't use her as much. Partly, it's great. At the end of the Fox run, they fully reveal to a couple of characters, like, no, when I say I'm Lucifer, I mean... there's a running gag that he's upfront about that, because he enjoys watching everybody just twist this rationalization of why it's a metaphor.
Yep.
And he just stands back and is like, sure, metaphor. And because everybody else will do the work. He doesn't have to lie about it. No one wants to believe it, and they'll do whatever they have to do to not believe it, right?
Yeah.
And so when he finally, like, reveals himself in like a no take backs kind of way to a couple of people, one of them is Chloe, and so in the Netflix series, she's rolling with really knowing this.
Oh, like all of it.
And so if he's the devil, then Mazikeen really is a demon
living in her house,
like Maze really
with
is.
Her
She's
daughter.
Not just like a hard partying bitch that likes to fuck people up. She really is a demon who is spending a lot of time with her daughter. And that stops. And there's some awkward dealing with it of like, I don't want you around for a minute.
Yeah.
Like you're elite, like you are like a legendary in the torture in hell.
Well, they did a really good job in season 3 with when Linda finds out, like for real finds out. And it's like, I could have gone without knowing about divinity. Like, actually, life kind of sucks right now if you think about it.
She has a great snap moment in season 4, too, when Chloe shows up of like, so how are you rolling with this? And like, I'm doing fine. I'm fucking not. I'm not rolling with this. Like, that actress gets off this great, like, oh, no, it's good. It's just whatever. Just fucking no.
So you guys would recommend it in general?
I really would.
Yeah. And I want to come back in a month once I can catch up on this Netflix season, give my lowdown.
Melissa Giramonti and I talked about this as well. I feel like Netflix is exactly where the show needs to be. It lets them lean just heavier on the demon mythology enough. They get a little scarier with it. The deaths are a little more violent and exorcist-y. But while at the same time, the show knows what show it is. Like, the cast and crew still made the fun Fox show all the parts that they needed.
Yeah.
And then Netflix kind of shortened it, tightened it, and it works a little better. I really, really hope they get another season on Netflix based on where they left it.
By the way, I'm super excited. We're going to see Melissa in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Always fun. We'll get a chance to get her on an episode, and she'll definitely be doing some interviews and stuff at the fest. So,
oh, yeah.
Well, if you guys are not listening to Femme TV or Electric Sweater,
we're going to rock it out at karaoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I want to take a quick news break before we talk about our final show because I think it's relevant. Whiskey Cavalier is a show that both Kyle and I have been digging. I don't know if you're caught up, Kyle. I'm like 2 episodes. I got 2 episodes left.
Yeah, I'm a couple behind.
News came down that it was being canceled. And then news came down that maybe it wasn't canceled.
Huh.
And so basically, like, Bill Lawrence, who's one of the guys behind the show, was saying, like, hey, guys, maybe watch the season finale, and maybe it'll be a season finale and not a series finale. And it sounds like maybe there was enough fan outcry that ABC is considering keeping it.
They really should.
And I find that interesting because Whiskey Cavalier is a type of show that we don't have a lot of right now. It's sort of a lighthearted, the action. I mean, characters kill people. Like there's action and that kind of stuff in it. But it is definitely a sort of like an adventure show.
Summer read.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of that kind of thing on TV. But it seems like CBS may have another one.
Yes, Blood and Treasure is going straight for that. It is the
absolutely the same thing, right?
It is the airport read of or beach read of summer TV shows.
So the pitch on this is that it is an ex-FBI agent and an ex might as well be Catwoman.
Yes, yeah, she's just
who
a
had
straight thief.
They had a tumultuous relationship where he got her to go straight, and they were in a romance, and then things happened.
Yeah, they pissed off a terrorist, and
now they have to reunite to track down his mentor, a archaeologist who discovered the tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony,
yes,
and discovered that the Nazis had taken Cleopatra back in 1947.
Yeah, where they discover where they discover Antony and Cleopatra is not in a spot where they should be buried. They find them in a pyramid of you can't, like, this is wrong and you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But then one of them is also missing because Nazis.
Because Nazis. And then Anthony, they are entered by some kind of paramilitary group that comes and takes her hostage, and so ex-FBI guy and his Catwoman friend have to track her down.
And then, of course, his childhood best friend, who is now a priest who works at the Vatican, found a Chuck.
Oh, and don't forget his good friend John Larroquette, super millionaire, with a mysterious agenda.
Yes.
There are so many fun parts to this.
It doesn't have pirates, but swashbuckling came to mind so often.
Yeah. I think it's part Indiana Jones, except it's in modern day. It does have Nazis.
It time jumps quite a bit.
It has quite a bit of National Treasure to it.
It feels a little closer to National Treasure, and I think that's the TV budget.
Yeah.
Though they really spend their budget.
They do, yeah.
I was kind of jaw dropped a couple times, and they opened big.
I thought they did a good job jumping around in time, showing us the flashbacks to here's where their relationship went wrong.
Yeah.
Here's where the Nazis came in.
Some of that was Hobby Grio Mark's watch.
Okay.
Who was also in the writer's room on this.
Okay.
And specifically his experience on Boomtown, I think, informed time jumps.
Yeah.
Because I got to talk to Steve Skaya, one of the 2 co-creators, and he talked about like how concerned they were with like where's the edge of this? How much information and how can we dole it out to an audience without like really, really fucking people up?
Yeah.
Or making their heads hurt.
And I have to say, I don't think I need both this show and Whiskey Cavalier. And I think that honestly, if I had to choose one, I would choose Whiskey Cavalier. But this was fun.
See, I'm not already into whiskey.
Yeah.
But I thought that same thing when I watched this first episode. I was like, Whiskey Cavalier is also in this vein.
Yeah.
So I am digging Whiskey Cavalier. I'm digging it in kind of a guilty pleasure way where it's not the best thing out there. But here's what I'm worried about if they do go for a season 2 is I don't know if they have anything better than what we've already seen for season 2.
That's fair.
And if you're going to do another one of these for season 2, that's going to be your last one easy.
Well, and isn't the pitch on this one that's going to be a different mystery?
So what I love about the Blood and Treasure setup, originally years ago, apparently these 2 guys, Matt Fetterman and Steven Skaya, have tried to do a treasure show together for years, apparently. They worked on Jericho. They worked on Limitless. Yeah. They worked on the Charlie's Angels reboot that was short-lived.
Yeah.
And so this one, they did it's an Egyptian treasure and the whole Mark Antony thing. But their pitch is 13 episodes, next season, new treasure.
Yeah.
So how did Sky put it? Same Treasure Squad. I was like, dude, Blood and Treasure is a great title. You should go with Treasure Squad.
Treasure
Squad. Next season it'll be the same. It'll be Matt Barr and then same crew, but new thing to hunt after. And I love that anthology. Like if Blood and Treasure was a summer event that popped up once a year, and CBS threw out this. Well, they're not making more National Treasures for me, so I got room for this.
You could bring in your badass one season villains for that.
Basically,
by the way, their villain is Oded Fair. And he's great. I love that dude.
Yeah.
And he's playing Karim Farouk, the sort of terrorist guy who got our
I also like the dude playing Shaw. He was also fun.
Yeah, I like him too. Who's there? It's funny. I thought they'd killed him like 3 times.
Yeah.
There's like a running gag. He gets shot and he's wearing a bulletproof vest. He gets poisoned and they find an antidote.
Yeah.
Like there's some fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
Poison poker chips. That's just clever.
Right?
That's great.
It really feels like everybody had a blast making this show.
Yeah.
I told Mark Gagliardi, who plays Father Chuck, who's also in a lot of Drunk History.
Yeah.
Like he's on the floor on a lot of Drunk History. He's the original narrator from it. But he I told him, I was like, man, I mean this in the best possible way, but the Danny Aiello, Hudson Hawk vibe coming off you as Father Chuck. I was like, I forget sometimes that other people don't value Hudson Hawk as the exceptional piece of filmmaking that it is.
Those people are wrong.
Those people are fucking wrong. But this has that same conspiracy theory stopped being fun for me 5 years ago or so when it started being actual public policy.
Yeah, I've talked about this with my buddy Dave, that it's like, remember how fun X-Files was? You can't do X-Files again because now those people are like in charge of our government. It's not funny anymore.
And so Blood and Treasure, like I kind of enjoyed getting to see a show that, it's in the first 5 minutes, so I'm not spoiling anything. It opens with blowing up a damn pyramid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, fuck it, man. It's on. We're going to shoot some Nazis. We're going to blow up some pyramids. We're going to look at some stolen treasure. Blood antiquities. Like, I love that it's Indiana Jones, except that all of these things should go back to a museum in their own country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's their kind of it's a slightly more ethical end result, but just as much helicopters and blowing up
It gives
shit.
you a little moral gray room there because then it's like, ooh, we need to steal some shit.
I like Matt. I've seen Matt Barr be the pretty romantic boy toy in a couple of things.
It's not a fun role for people in general.
But I feel like Matt Barr should be in more shit like this.
Yeah.
He is really, he's just a tall, good-looking blonde dude from Dallas or from Allen, Texas, and he ought to be in a shitload of running around the world blowing stuff up, and Sahara-type stuff.
Sophia Pernis?
Who plays Lexi? She is great.
She's great. And I don't know where I've seen her. She's in The Brave. She's in Jane the Virgin. But she's great here, and she is definitely steals the show in a lot of ways.
I also got to talk to Katya Winter, who is she's Ichabod's wife in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
She's in Legends of Tomorrow. She was the Viking sister, but she plays Agent Gwen Carlson here, who is just this wonderful, very, very Swedish, very business down to work, no fun, which is great in a banter show, like in a nonstop banter-filled show. She makes this really wonderful,
she's the one rolling her eyes. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I don't like this as much as I like Whiskey Cavalier. Even Whiskey Cavalier, I'm not saying it's a great show. It just does what it does really well. This show does what it does really well.
I made the mistake of looking at a handful of reviews and
did people not like
good.
it?
But I don't know. Those are. Who knows? Yeah. I would tell everybody. I would say it's a beach read, man.
It is. That's what it is. It's not. This is not your replacement for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, they're not making prestige television. They wouldn't get to do this.
Yeah, it's Magnum PI. It's Rockford Files. It's all that kind of stuff.
In the best possible senses. Yeah. And they really did spend their budget. There's some stuff coming up later on in the season where they shot at the Coliseum.
Yeah,
where they really went all out. The best quote though. Following all these guys on Twitter, they've done quite a bit of behind the scenes in the writers' room and stuff. And at one point, someone came, a Vatican expert they were talking to, was like, there's no tunnels. There's not actually tunnels under the back. And Steve Sky was like, stop. I don't want to live in a fucking world where there's no tunnels under the Vatican. So just shut it. Just shut your lying mouth. It's like, yes, exactly. At some point, no, damn it. I live in a world where there are fucking tunnels under the Vatican. Though free ports are real.
Really?
They didn't obviously shoot in one. It's like Giant Stadium or something, but or some stadium they shot in. But free ports are real, and that's apparently a part of how ISIS and shit is funded.
Interesting. Okay.
There are there are holding docks full of stolen or questionable history, art, and antiquities and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they sit there for a generation until they are cooled off and can sell.
Interesting.
Wow. So by the time we're recording this, there's like 2 episodes of Billions left. But that was actually a big point of this last episode of Billions. The Bobby Axelrod, the like super billionaire guy, he bought all these paintings while he was in Europe, like millions of dollars worth of paintings. But then he realized that if he brought them back to the States, that the taxes on bringing them in would be like just as much money. So what happened is they show up, and he's like, I ain't signing that because then I got to pay all that money. And what it was is there was a guy who owned, like a spot in like one of these free ports or wherever where it can just sit there where it's not like on the land.
Offshore, it's not being taxed. It's not,
yeah. It's just like in holding.
Yeah.
Well, there's the cross between Billions and Blood and Treasure. Who knew?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break, and then we'll take some listener questions. All right, so once in a while, I used to say once a week. It's not true anymore. Once in a while, I'll put up a Facebook post on our TV Dudes Facebook,
It's like
and I'll say,
Brigadoon.
send us some questions, and I'll talk about the shows we're going to watch. And I'm going to try to get better about that again. Got to get on a schedule. This week, I put one up. You guys came through for us. We got some questions. Kyle Volti wants to know, so can you think of a TV show that is as objectively terrifying as Chernobyl? I know it freaked me out when they put up the date May 2nd, 1986, and that was my 10th birthday, and the day the whole thing would have gone kablooey if they hadn't realized there was water below the reactor core. Are either of you guys watching Chernobyl?
I'm not. It's on my list. Everyone I know is watching it. And
I
scared
had to get
shitless.
through all the stuff we've been talking about the past 2 weeks,
Yeah.
but
Everybody's been talking about it. I don't want to watch it.
I really don't. It looks fucking
scary.
terrifying.
I saw the trailers, and I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know how close we came to Armageddon.
Everything I've ever read about it is more and more terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, it is so much hubris that did that.
Yeah. Is there a show as terrifying as Chernobyl?
I don't think so.
You go back to like Day After Tomorrow?
But it's, yeah. Like, I would think, like, well, I mean, there are scarier horror shows, but they're not real. Like, I'm not worried about Haunting of Hill House the way I'm worried about Chernobyl.
Right. I'm not worried about ghosts. I am worried about Russia
Yes.
accidentally irradiating all of us.
Yes.
you know what I found kind of frightening? The night of.
Oh, yeah. So
The whole, like,
horrors of the legal system. Yeah.
Like the whole situation and like being trapped in that scenario.
Yeah.
The whole Fruitvale Station kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. Yeah, I can totally see that.
That kind of stuff kind of I mean, hell, the first time I watched Oz, and I mean, you start in the prison, and that every
No,
episode
Oz was
scared
the first
shit
show
out of me.
that was a binge. It was clearly designed to be binged, and I couldn't binge it. I could watch like 2 episodes of Oz in a row, and then I'd think like, "There's weed somewhere in this house. I'm gonna go to jail for the rest of my goddamn life."
Yeah. Oz was definitely
college.
the scare tactics, but you're right. Night of was even more scary because it was also like, whereas in Oz you're like you saw these people and like, oh, that guy's a bad criminal. In Night of you're like, did he do it or is he just a weird kid? Like it really brought in a lot of the stuff that I got from like Serial and Anand Sayed and that kind of stuff. And you're right, that's a good comparison.
I always wondered if those things hit at the same time, if that was a zeitgeist thing.
I think it was. I don't think it was tied in.
because the stories were so similar.
Yeah. Fulton Smith says, "Hey, TV dudes, I watched the 2-hour premiere of Blood and Treasure and thought it looked good. Then I remembered Bastard Executioner had a great 2-hour premiere, but the episodes followed were not. What are some shows you thought had a great premiere but went downhill after?" I forgot about Bastard Executioner.
I could not say whether or not the first episode of that was good or not.
Me neither.
It
I
looked
didn't watch
awful.
it.
It just looked really bad to me the whole time.
I didn't watch Sons of Anarchy either, so I'm not.
Sons of Anarchy did not end well for me.
I
didn't enjoy the ending of that.
I know there have been shows where I watch the pilot and I'm like, oh, this is really good, and then it goes increasingly downhill.
There's a lot of stuff that we watched the first few episodes of,
Yeah.
and it's not. But those aren't really what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Those aren't great pilots that then drop off. Those are
Yeah.
just shows that get lost in the sea of peak television.
And I feel like I'm sure there are some. I have trouble remembering it, but I think that the reason it happens is somebody has a great idea and a great cast and a great director, and they put this together, and it's like, oh, wow, what a great establishing shot. And then you don't know where to go from there. I can definitely see it falling apart, but I can't recall anything off the top of my head where I've thought of this recently. Usually these days, I mean, we don't get a lot of pilot these days. We get stuff that goes straight to series. We get stuff that is
Manifest.
Oh, really?
I really... No, I take that back. I fucking hated the pilot of Manifest. That's what it was. That pilot was bad, and everybody else liked it.
Yeah. Okay.
But right after Lost went off the air, I feel like there were several of those shows where they... Like, the event looked great. Flash Forward looked great.
The twisty pilot.
Yeah, Flash Forward actually set up really, really well and had actors I liked, and then they had no idea what to do with that.
Went on.
I feel like V's comeback pilot wasn't that strong.
No, I did not like that pilot. You know, a show that I actually – it's not a terrible show, but the pilot for it wasn't Shyamalan. It was that one that Carla Gugino was in. It was like a small town that turned out to be like in a post-apocalypse. Did you guys watch this show?
Oh, man, Wayward Pines?
Wayward Pines.
Yeah. So the first season of Wayward Pines I really dug.
I did too. I didn't see the second season.
The second season they'd already revealed their twist and it didn't work as well.
But I'll say this. I think the first episode of Wayward Pines is particularly good. It sets everything up. And then as it goes on, you're like, wait a minute, I don't know if this makes sense anymore, but I'll keep with it.
You have to really enjoy the twist at that point, and then it should have just been one season.
Yeah.
That first episode is especially right up. I can't remember when they reveal what's going on, but that was a shocking shot.
And then, of course, Lost had a great pilot, then it was terrible after that.
Talk about downhill fast.
I remember watching that first episode of John from Cincinnati thinking, this show's going to be incredible.
I remember that too, actually. Yeah, totally.
I believe the first I think it's the first episode that ends with him in the or contains the scene where he's in the courtyard of the
floating?
motel. But he looks around and he says something non sequitur to everyone, and it's their character arc for the whole season.
Yeah.
Like in the first episode, he drops and none of it makes any sense to you yet, but it's one of the slickest coolest things. It so doesn't work.
Yeah.
I also think that first episode was when the kid had the accident.
Yes.
And you think he's going to die or at least be brain damaged or something.
And he wakes up, yeah.
And then that show.
Oh, my God.
Don't watch that based off of what you just heard.
So at least two of you never have to watch this because I've seen it 3 times all the way through.
Final question comes from a Mr. Grant Davis. He says, hey, Dunerinos, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Watchmen show on HBO? And why is Damon Lindelof so sexy?
Real quick, I'm going to ask a dumb question. It's going to sound like I'm trying to make a joke.
Okay.
But I'm being very sincere, and I probably should admit that. Okay, I'm not super familiar with the source material, but Watchmen, is that a reference to actual clocks or watchmakers?
Yes. One of the main characters is his father is a watchmaker, and it does tie into that. But it is reference to the Who Watches the Watchmen. So the notion of making it a clock metaphor, it's not the craziest thing. There's one of the characters, the big blue guy, the guy with the superpowers. He puts himself together because he or his father was a watchmaker.
Yeah, and he basically reassembles himself after a nuclear accident when he's blown to atoms.
Because I thought the group was the.
It's very much a reference to the who polices the police.
Yeah, the group is the Minutemen.
Okay, that's right.
The Watchmen is not there's not actually a group called the Watchmen.
No,
the Minutemen.
But the premise of the series truly is who polices your superheroes.
Right, and it is who watches the Watchmen. So yeah, the whole tick 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 thing, it was a little weird, a bit on the nose, but it makes a certain amount of sense because there is a watch and clock element to it as
well. There's a metaphor to Dr. Manhattan trying to understand the world, but really understand everybody's motivations and what's going to happen with all these people.
Yeah.
If everybody's running on their little paths and he's trying to calculate it all. So there's a very he wants it to behave like a clock and people don't.
And there's certainly a time element because they definitely do. There's some time travel. There's some, Dr. Manhattan lives not linearly in some ways.
All of these things I'm sure made Alan Moore just hurl bricks out his own windows and shit.
Yeah. As for why Damon Lindelof's so sexy, it's because he is
mystery.
It's because he's a bald guy with glasses who knows his comics, and there's nothing sexier than a bald guy with glasses who knows comics.
Fair point, Randy. I just assumed it was because mystery's always sexy, and no one is clouded in more mystery than Damon Lindelof.
Did you guys read the letter he wrote about why he wanted to do the series?
I did, and I thought it was very sincere and heartfelt, and I still feel like Alan Moore is cursing him.
You cannot possibly make Alan Moore happy.
No.
It would kill a small town, I think, if he turned happy.
So to get to the first part of the question, though, and there's a whole podcast on Electric Sweater about this called Who Pods the Watchmen. But what do you guys think about Watchmen? Are you looking forward to it? Do you not want to watch it? Are you bleh, whatever?
So I think we're all probably done with Zack Snyder at this point.
Yes,
but
for sure.
I enjoyed the Watchmen movie, if nothing else, that it looked exactly like pages moving off the comic at points.
I feel like, it kills me to say this because I hate Zack Snyder so much. But I feel like the Watchmen movie was the best version of a Watchmen movie we're going to get.
I feel that way too. Like
it was soulless. It did not capture
slow motion soulless.
Yeah, it was so soulless, but it had the look, like especially that opening sequence where they do like the slow roll through time. Man. Really good.
Oh, that Smashing Pumpkins song.
And I love the casting. I liked a lot about it. And I wasn't looking forward to the show when I thought they were just going to try to fix the movie.
Yeah,
because I don't know that the things I didn't like were necessarily fixable without fucking I think that might be the best Watchmen movie you can do.
I agree.
What they're doing here is like an alternate take or afterwards or something.
It seems like it's a sequel Watchmen was a period piece. It was took place in 1986. It was written it wasn't a period piece at the time, but it definitely is of its period.
And almost all of Alan Moore's stuff is so fucking 80s.
They're jumping forward 30 years and showing us what the world looks like after Dr. Manhattan's crazy squid thing or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to go with the movie changed the ending.
The movie is Dr. Manhattan. The book is the squid, and I don't know which one they're going to go with. But clearly, it didn't work. The world is not a utopia.
Yeah, and it was never going to work.
And Rorschach has this crazy cult. I am intrigued, but I'm also very wary because I feel like this is territory that in general has not been mined well.
I am desperately afraid that they don't understand that a lot of people don't understand that Rorschach's not a hero.
Yeah, that's really important.
Really fucking important.
Yeah, Rorschach can be interesting and fun to watch because in the same way that the Punisher can is a violent psychopath.
Yes, he's occasionally on your side at the right moment, but when he peels that mask off, he's a racist nut job.
Yeah, you should never be happy to see him.
He's still a racist nut job with the mask on.
Yeah, you should never be happy to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is key. And I think that I get the sense that they get the cult of the Rorschach seem pretty dangerous.
Good. I'm excited knowing that they are going to do it different and do their own thing. And then reading that letter, I'm as hopeful about this as I could be about anybody tackling this property.
Kyle, what do you think?
I'm going to echo your sentiments. Yeah, it looks it's looking like it could be pretty good. I mean, I'm always a little skeptical whenever we fire up the hype machine.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's going to be some hype around this. It's an existing property. It's a god level director.
Yeah, this is HBO, right?
It's HBO.
So there's real money on here.
Yeah.
OP Network.
Well, they're scrambling for their next Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So, but this isn't going to end up with me being excited about it and then it being Powers.
No, it is not. Oh, man, Powers. Oh, yikes. I'd forgotten they did that. It was so bad.
PlayStation Network.
So terrible.
Well, it's funny because, as I'm sure HBO's like, what's going to be the next Game of Thrones? I feel like TV right now should be like, what's going to be the next Game of Thrones? Because, honestly, it's not necessarily going to be HBO. And
it's not going to be another Game of Thrones any more than it was Flash Forward to the event.
Right.
Or,
it's going to be something else that people are talking about.
The other 16 not lost.
I mean, it could be it should be Fleabag.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, you can, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, you can go over to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us $1 an episode, and we'll use that to upgrade our sound equipment, to do cool events, to just basically, keep things going here and keep the lights on. And we appreciate all our patrons, appreciate all our listeners. We occasionally do patrons special episodes. And then
we had that guy that threw in the money for Grand Tour.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That guy was very, very...
We should do a Patreon where we just explain that whole story. I mean, we've explained it on the podcast, but we've done it in chunks.
Yeah. We are part of the Electric Sweater Network.
Electric Sweater.
Sweater.
A lot of TV-themed shows going on over there, including The Good Die Young.
Indeed. That host is an amazing human being.
Yeah?
Yep, I owe him everything.
Yeah. So what is The Good Die Young?
The Good Die Young is my one-season it's on its second season, but we cover one-season shows. So one-and-done television that vanished before you could, fall in love with it. I'm the person that saw most of that shit. And so last season we talked about The Middleman, which is a flawless show. I'll fight you for it. This season we're talking about Happy Town, which is not as flawless, but is so swing-for-the-fences nuts that it has to be seen to be believed. You can watch it on the ABC app or ABC website. It's got everybody from Jeff Stoltz to Amy Acker to Francis Conroy to Sam Neill. The cast is just bizarre. It's kind of Twin Peaks-ish. There's murders. There's maybe supernatural stuff. There's a giant bird.
They put a bird on it?
They put a bird on it. There's a lot of song drops because it involves Scott Rosenberg and Andre Nemec and Josh Applebaum.
Okay.
In the industry, we call that the needle drop.
The needle drop. There's a shitload of needle drops. Being on ABC, they had the money to burn on it.
Yeah.
It's got Steven Weber in it. Yeah. It's so I take co-host Nick Tice through each episode. There's only 8.
Yep.
And then intersperse interviews with them every Monday and Thursday.
I feel like my show Beach Cop Detectives is like the season zero.
Yes, it was the season 0 for this. In fact, I took you out to lunch, I think at Velvet Taco.
Yeah.
To make sure I wasn't going to step on toes.
And I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to do that again.
And so, it's I think probably 2 or 3 episodes probably going to be out by the time this airs.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody enjoys it.
And if you enjoyed our little dive into Watchmen talk, you want to hear it with someone with a bit more of a what I would call a slavish devotion to Damon Lindelof,
Bravado.
You might check out Who Pods the Watchmen. Follow them over on Instagram and Twitter. They're going to be dropping some episodes. That is our buddy Grant Davis and Mike Moody.
Yep.
And they will be they'll be talking about the comics and the movie leading up to the show. They'll be talking about the episodes of the show. If you've heard the Star Trek Discovery Pod, you know these guys do great episodic work.
And really, if there's a property that can bear being picked through, there's a lot to dive through in Watchmen. I'm sure they'll find tons in the show.
And finally, we want to mention, if you're hearing this, I believe it's happening tomorrow. I'm not sure when this episode is going to drop, but we are doing a karaoke party at ATX TV Fest this year. And so if you happen to be in town, you have a badge, or you want to drop the money on a one-day –
I believe that's Saturday, June 8th.
Saturday, June 8th. That is correct. Come out, sing some TV-themed karaoke with us.
All you need is an ATX Fest badge and wristband, and you should have one of those already. It is the greatest festival that I go to, hands down, bar none. Beats every comic convention I've ever been to.
Same. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it's so fun. It's like the fans are great. It's the
best attitude of any. Like it's one of the only festivals where I enjoy being in line because the conversations are wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't harass you don't have to spend $100 to go stand in line and get an autograph from an actor who would obviously rather not be there. Like it's for people who love TV, by people who make TV and also love TV.
Yeah, the panels are great, the premieres. Anyway,
see
me there. We'll just be nerding out about it.
Yeah, and that's it for us this week. We'll see you next time, and until that time,
the TV dude's out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.